Hello students, today we are going to discuss the next part of a bird's body, that is a beak. The birds, they don't have teeth, and the beak of the birds is used to pick up the food items, also to pick up any types of insects or small animals that the birds eat. And since these birds are of different types, the beaks that they have are also of different shapes, different sizes and different structures. So all the birds that are found in our surrounding do not have same type of beaks. According to the need of the bird, the beaks are having different shapes, different sizes and different structures. In total there are 8 types of beaks. Today we are going to discuss about the types of beaks that all these birds have. So first type of beak is strong, sharp and hooked beaks. So the birds like eagle, vulture and kite, they have strong, sharp and hooked shaped beaks. The shape of the beak of these birds is just like a hook. These birds, they catch small animals like frogs, snakes and they eat these insects. And so in order to catch these small animals, these birds like eagle, vulture, kite, they are gifted with a hooked shape beak. And because of such a beak, these birds, they can easily catch their prey, that is the small animal, and they can tear the flesh of these animals and eat them up. And so these birds, that is eagle, vulture and kite, they are called as birds of prey. They catch their prey, they hunt their own prey and they eat these animals as their food. So they are called as birds of prey. The second one is short and horny beaks. So the birds like sparrow, pigeon, peacock, these birds have short and horny beaks. So the size is short. They are not having long beaks but very short beaks they have, and the beaks, the shape of the beaks is just like the horn on the horns of cows, buffaloes, and so they are called as horny beaks. And these birds like sparrow, pigeons, peacocks, what do they eat? They eat grains, then they eat nuts and seeds of various fruits. And so the short and horny beaks are okay for them, so that they can easily pick up the grains, easily pick up the nuts and the seeds and they can eat it. And so the birds like sparrow, pigeon and peacock, they have short and horny beaks. The third type of beaks is short and curved beak. So the bird which has such type of short and curved beak is a parrot. So you all are familiar with a parrot, and this parrot has short and curved beak. And what does the parrot eat? The parrot, it eats nuts and it bites hard fruits, and that is why it eats nuts. Yes, and it eats the fruits. Also it bites some hard fruits. So the beak is short and it is curved beak, so that it can bite the hard fruits. Also it can break the nuts and eat the seeds from that nuts. And so it is having short and curved beak. The next type of beak is strong, heavy and chisel shaped beak. So the bird which is having such chisel shaped beak is woodpecker. Yes, it is the woodpecker which has strong, heavy and chisel shaped beak. And why is this woodpecker given such type of beak? Because the woodpecker eats insects which live inside the trunk of the trees. And so the woodpecker is gifted with such chisel shaped beak. So chisel is a tool which is very sharp, and the woodpecker is having the beak which is very sharp and it is very strong. The beak of the woodpecker is very strong and it is heavy and it is just like the chisel. And with the help of such beak, the woodpecker can make holes in the trees and it can catch the insects which live inside the trunk of the tree. So also this woodpecker lives inside the trunk of the tree. It makes hole in the trunk of the tree and lives inside it. And to make a hole in this trunk, the woodpecker makes use of its chisel shaped and strong beak. So the woodpecker is gifted with strong, heavy and chisel shaped beak. The birds like vulture and kite have strong, sharp and hooked beaks. You can see in the picture the vulture is having hooked shaped beak. So also the beak of the kite can be easily seen here. The next are the peacock and the sparrows, which have short and horn shaped beaks. So they do not have any hooked shape, but they have the shape of a horn. The next are the short and curved beak of the parrot. You can see the parrot, the beak of the parrot is curved. Yes. And the next is the woodpecker. The woodpecker is having a chisel shaped beak because it needs to make holes into the tree trunk to catch the insects. Also, it requires a strong and heavy beak to make its nest. It lives in the tree trunks by making holes in the tree trunks. So the woodpecker requires a heavy, strong and chisel shaped beak. Now let us move on to the next type of beak, that is the fifth type of beak, which is long and slender beak. So the birds like hoopoo, they have long and slender. Slender means very thin beak. So these birds have long and thin beaks so that they can pull out the insects which hide in some places. The birds like hoopoo, they eat animals, small insects, small animals, and the slender and long beak of these birds helps them to pull out the insects which hide in some places. So the next type is broad and flat beaks. So the birds like duck and goose, they have broad and flat beak. Duck, you all are very familiar to the duck. Goose is also a type of duck only. So the ducks, you might have observed, they are having broad. They do not have slim beaks or long beaks, but they are having broad and flat beaks. And why do they have such broad and flat beaks? Also, they have tiny holes in their beak, because when they see some insects or some animals in the water, they pick up the muddy water, and when they pick up all that muddy water, through these tiny holes the water gets away and the insect which they have caught, it remains in their beak and they can easily eat that insect. So these birds are having broad and flat beak with tiny holes in their beak so that the extra water which comes into their beak along with the insect gets away or drains away from the beak. Yes, the next is long, thin and curved beak. So the birds like sunbird and hummingbird, they are having long beaks which are very thin and they are having a curved shape. So the beak of these sunbird and hummingbird are curved shape which are long and thin as well. And why do they have long beaks? Because these birds drink or suck the nectar or the juice from the flowers, and to suck the juice from the flowers or the nectar from the flowers, the birds require long beaks so that they can easily put their beaks into the flowers and take the juice from the flowers. The next is short and broad beak. So the birds like swallows, they have short and broad beak. They do not have long beaks, but the size is very short and it is broad. And these birds, they eat the insects. And these birds like swallows, their mouth and tongue is very sticky. So when these birds are flying, they keep their mouths wide open, and because of the stickiness of their tongue and mouth, the small insects which are flying get stuck into the mouth, and these birds, they can easily eat the insects. So these were all 8 types of beaks. This is the hoopoe bird, which is having long and slender beak, which helps it to pull out the insects from their hiding places. The next are the ducks and the goose. So you can see here the duck is having a broad and flat beak, and it has tiny holes in the beak. The next is the sunbird, which is having long, thin and curved beak to suck the nectar or the juice from the various flowers. And the last type of beaks is short and broad beak. The swallows, they have short and broad beak, and their mouth and tongue are very sticky. So the birds get stuck into the mouth of the swallows and they can easily eat up the insects.